Hey guys, Muncheez here, and welcome to another Gacha Fundamentals video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about stats and how they work, and I'll give a brief overview with it without getting too far into detail with it. But for the most part, when you get into these games and you get a character and you're wondering, oh, how do I build this character? The first thing you have to do is understand their kit and the kits of the other characters that you are going to use with them. But for the purposes of this video, we're only going to focus on one kit. And what a kit is generally just a set of skills and abilities that are like unique to one of the characters that you are playing, and they all have like different play styles that go along with them and things that are like unique to their talent trees and everything like that. This is all included in one character's kit. So for example, I'm going to use Jing Liu here as kind of a guideline. She is an easier one to explain because she scales off of attack and crit damage, and a lot of her stuff is geared towards having a lot of crit damage. As you can see, a lot of these nodes, they just give her more and more crit damage. And in this game, you have characters that can give your damage characters as like a support character. They can give her crit percent, which she is lacking, but she will have enough crit percent from those characters to supplement the lack of crit that she has. So we know her abilities scale off of attack power, and then we know that she is heavily focused around crit damage, and we know that she is ice element. So you are going to want to boost all of this stuff, right? So as you can see here, my crit rate is actually a little low, but I will play her with a character and bring that maybe roughly up to like about 50% or so, and I'll be fine. Now, I'm going to use this horrible paint image that I have because I have no better way to explain this. Basically, we'll use some generic stats here to kind of explain how this works. So when you build a character, you're going to have, for damage, specifically for damage, you're going to have a damage ceiling, and then you're going to have a damage floor. Okay, so a damage floor is how low your damage is possible to go, and your damage ceiling is how high your damage can be. Now, these two things put together, that is what your overall average damage is going to be based off of. It's going to be based off of your ceiling and your floor and how far apart they are from one another. If you want to raise your damage ceiling, the easiest stat to raise is your attack and then your crit damage. And lastly, you'll start adding elemental damage into it as you are building later and later in the games of the Gacha Games, of whatever Gacha game you're playing. Usually that's the pattern. And some characters will be unique enough to where you want to focus on crit rate, but all crit rate actually does is it raises your damage floor. And I'll give an example of that. So say you hit a monster twice and the non-crit caps out at 50, so you hit it for 50, and then the crit damage capped at 75. So your crits are hitting for 75, and then when you have higher crit rate, you'll crit more and you'll hit it for 75 more, but your ceiling, the cap on your damage, is still going to be at 75 unless you raise one of the three stats that I have listed above, which is the attack, the crit damage, or the elemental damage. This is just a generic example of how you would build like a normal DPS character, like if there were no existing outside factors. But a lot of gacha games now, they like to add a little twist to it, and they like to make the influence from whatever characters you're playing alongside, or, you know, whatever kind of gear you're wearing or whatever kind of set you're wearing. So all of these come into play, but for the most part, this is how your damage is going to be based off of when you build a character. They'll even have things like energy recharge builds where, like, if you have a character with a really good ult, say like a support that gives a really big buff, you want to have that buff all the time. So you want to have energy recharge to use their ultimate to give that buff. And you'll also have characters that scale off of like defense or something like that. And here's an example of a character who has an ability that scales off of HP. So as you can see, it says deals quantum damage equal to 90% of Fushuan's max HP to all enemies. Now, normally when there's characters like this, they're generally like tanks of some sort or crowd control characters. But for the most part, those are the things that you have to be aware of when you are going to build your character. But that is all for this video. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, or anything like that, feel free to leave it in the comments below, as well as anything else. If you're curious, if you're a new player or looking to get into gachas, let me know in the comment section down below if there's anything you're curious of, and maybe I can make a video, shed some light on it or something like that. But this is going to be the last video in this intro series, so I'll have these three here forever. They're not going to go anywhere. But yeah, don't forget to like and sub on the way out, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.